Host.
Buonasera.
Ciao Chiara, ben arrivata.
Grazie, ciao Daniela, come va la vita?
Dai, va, sta andando. Allora, Chiara, stiamo aspettando nel frattempo che le persone si collegano. Abbiamo chiesto ai nostri partecipanti di rispondere a questa domanda nella chat, se vuoi aggregarti.
Ok, vedo solo Being Proud of My Heritage. C'era una domanda prima che forse non ho visto.
Riesci a vedere la slide di...
Ah, sì, 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 scusami, sì.
Figurati. Chiara, Maura e Bettina sono le presentatrici di questa sera.
Buonasera Chiara.
Grazie, grazie, buonasera. Parlate italiano?
Sì,
Buonasera,
Siete
sì.
d'Italia, vero? Siete
Sì,
tutte e
da
due?
Milano, di Milano siamo. Ci
Ecco,
colleghiamo in questo momento a
esatto.
Milano.
bellissimo, bellissimo.
E, Bettina e Maura, Chiara è la nostra collaboratrice dell'altra Dante di Boston.
Mhm.
Sì, Dante Massachusetts. C'è Lia. Ciao Lia.
Infatti la vedo sulla chat, è sempre presente Lia.
Mm.
Che poi mi sembra è lì da voi o sta viaggiando nonostante il virus?
Nonostante il virus, Lia sta viaggiando.
Eh,
Mm.
È a Napoli.
Comunque, mentre aspettiamo, perché visto che ci sono già una decina di persone, ci farebbe molto piacere se poteste mettere nel chat i vostri pensieri sulla domanda proprio che cosa significa feeling Italian to you? What does feeling Italian mean to you? Would be lovely if you just could share your thoughts. Nothing, just easy, what comes to your mind, gut feeling.
E ci devo pensare. It's not an easy question.
Mm.
Vediamo. I think it's a great question.
Looks like a difficult question. People are shy to answer.
Non so se le mie panelliste sanno, ma che comunque siamo in diretta adesso su YouTube, solo per avvisarvi. Lia ci ha messo con i suoi poteri magici, ci ha messo in diretta.
Complimenti, bello, bello.
Sì.
Scusate, mi stanno scrivendo un paio di nostri membri per sapere meglio l'ora, che poi l'ho detto ben, eh? E vabbè,
Siamo alle 4:30, dai.
30, sì, infatti, infatti.
Mhm. Anche se sto facendo già entrare le persone, Chiara.
Sì, sì, no, giustamente, perché questo comunque è meetings, vedo, non è un webinar.
Mhm.
Mm, ok. Oh, wow, Nancy.
For the new participant, well, there we go. For the new participant, if you want to answer the question that it's posted on your screen, what does feeling Italian means to you? Please write your comments on the chat so that we can discuss later, maybe. Ah, salutiamo l'Argentina.
Also, Tanor, welcome. I saw you joined us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you,
Hi.
Maura. Happy to be here.
Yes, thanks to you.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't gonna, all right. Just trying to respect your feeling.
Okay, great. As people join us for tonight event, we will start in a few minutes. If you want to answer the question you find on the screen, you can answer it on the chat. What does feeling Italian means to you? You can participate writing your answer on the chat, and I invite everyone to mute themselves during the presentation to avoid noises in the background. Thank you. Okay. Ok, penso che ci siamo, sono le 4:30 negli Stati Uniti, 10:30 di sera in Italia. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and join us for this event. I want to thank you all for taking the time on a Sunday and join us. I'm Daniela D'Amico Henderson, and I am the cultural chairperson for the Dante Alighieri Society in Michigan. And here with us, I see a lot of board members and some of our friends and members. And of course, I want to take 1 minute to say hi to Leah, our president, that is actually in Italy at the moment. So, but she's always present, and we really appreciate her support even from far. Tonight with me and the panel, I want to introduce you Chiara Durazzini. Chiara.
Buonasera, buon pomeriggio. Hello everybody. I am Chiara Durazzini, member of the Dante Alighieri Society of Massachusetts, and so today I'm representing another Dante. We've been collaborating with the Dante Michigan the whole year. I think it's almost a year now for all these cultural online events, and I have to say it couldn't have been better. So grazie, thank you so much, Dante Michigan. You've been amazing, and I'm excited about this particular project of today. Just a reminder, the next Sunday we are gonna have the third installment of Momenti Musicali, with whom, of course, we are sharing again with Dante Michigan. So either check out there or our website, and don't miss it, because we have Francesco Petrarca and Franz Liszt. So another amazing concert. And that's it for today. I'm excited. Grazie a tutti e non vedo l'ora di vedere questo bellissimo evento. Grazie.
Grazie, Chiara. Also, we are very honored to have with us tonight the Consul of Italy in Detroit, Miss Maria Manca.
Grazie, Daniela. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this event. I hope all of you had a nice and blessed Easter, Pasqua and Pasquetta, as we say in Italian, hopefully with your families and beloved ones. Today, in cooperation with the Dante Alighieri Society of Michigan, we are presenting Feeling Italian Book, a photographic project which collects more than 90 images to represent Italians abroad, the Italian lifestyle, and the Italian way of life. I would like to thank the two editors of this photographic book, Maura and Bettina, as well as Andrea, who is the person that reached out to me with this proposal. I would also like to thank Leah and Daniela from the Dante Alighieri Society of Michigan for organizing this event, and also to Chiara from Massachusetts. It's been a very nice collaboration between the Dante from Michigan and Massachusetts. Unfortunately, I cannot stay with you for the entire time of this presentation because of another commitment, and that's why I don't want to take too much of your time. So I wish you all a very enjoyable presentation and give the floor back to Daniela. Thank you.
Grazie, Maria. And since Maria already talked about Andrea, I would like Andrea to actually was the connection between tonight's event. We've been approached by Andrea, one of our member and friend, and this sounded so magnificent that I couldn't pass it. So it's been a great idea, and I am so excited to present this book to all of you. As you can see on the slide already, the question itself, it tells you how tonight's event is going to be very deep and profound. So Andrea, since you were the one putting us in contact, I want to ask you, what was it? And I know that you are part of the coaching training. What was it that really struck you in this book?
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Dante, for having me and having Maura and Bettina presenting the Feeling Italian book. I actually was very happily surprised when I saw the Maura and Bettina's book about feeling Italian, because this was one of the questions that I asked myself so many times. So for those who don't know me, I'm Brazilian. I'm originally from Brazil, and I moved to Italy in 2000 for love. My husband is Italian, from Torino, and we lived in Milan for 12 years. My kids were born there, so my kids are Italian. And myself, I felt Italian, in the idea of feeling Italian. I felt Italian for 12 years. And because all my life, at that time, from 2000 to 2012, was really Italian. So when I saw this title, when I the Maura's and Bettina's book, it was actually a question that I asked myself, because seeing our kids as third cultural kids, and also so many Americans, Italian Americans that are here for second generation and third generations, that even not being born in Italy, they continue feeling Italian. So this is the question that it's interesting to ask, because there is many different ways that we can feel Italian. So I'm happy to share this book with all of you.
Great. I agree. It has more meanings than that. That's true. So I would love to introduce to everyone the two authors, Maura Di Mauro and Bettina Gerke. Maura, as you can read it, is the former president of SIETAR Italia, intercultural training coach and consultant, diversity and inclusion, sustainability and innovation specialist. Sorry, I read it. Bettina Gerke is an advisory board at SIETAR Italia, professor for cross-cultural management and leadership at Bocconi School of Management. So with no further talk, I leave the room to Maura and Bettina.
Thank you very much all for this very warm welcome. So I'm Bettina of German origin, and here you see that even of a German origin living in Milan, you can feel very Italian. And you will, I hope, it will show you something more about it. A few words, maybe I don't know if all of you know what SIETAR is and means. SIETAR is the Society for Intercultural Education, Training and Research. It's a global network of interculturalist professionals who work in the intercultural field. And I would actually, before we start to speak about the book, to give you also a little bit of context. and context how the book actually came into being, because the book actually is just one part of a wider project, of a research into training project. We at Theatre Italy are working on to stimulate an intercultural dialogue and to stimulate mutual understanding in the Italian multicultural society. So a major mission, in fact, of our association is to promote the intercultural dialogue in Italy. So we are a very small group of volunteers who have been working for quite some time now to help people to develop intercultural competencies and to develop a sense of global citizenship. Yet after many years of organizing conferences, seminars, workshops, we actually wanted to push the public dialogue on these issues further. And we wanted to go also deeper in understanding the meaning of what it means having a multicultural identity. I guess actually from the names and from actually from the audience, from the Dante Institute, that a lot of people present here in our meeting today actually carry some multicultural imprint. And in Deniable today, we have not only most of us do not just have one culture, the culture we are born in, but we are influenced by many different cultures. So this is in fact the notion of identity, and why this is for everybody who is engaged in the intercultural field, why the notion of identity is very important. Be it personal identity, religious, ethnic, or national, is actually through about learning about our own identity and how our identity, about the identities of others, that we come to know what makes us similar and different. And so at a core of our intercultural dialogue, in fact, is that we continuously trying to understand deeper the concept of identities. And as we becoming more intercultural, multicultural, we are adding new layers to our identity, and without actually giving up our roots. I'm coming from academia, and for everybody who is working in this field and studying some of this subject, actually, we know that there are a lot of theories that discuss the link between the self and the social. But in our project, what we wanted to do, we wanted to do something more innovative, and we wanted to go beyond the academic discourse of talking about these issues. And we wanted an approach also that touched better the emotions of people, not only the cognitive understanding. And also we wanted to find an approach to talk about these issues by something which respects also the complexity involved when we talk about multicultural identities in Italy. So this is the reason why we decided to use the photographic language. Because by using images together with the stories and the narrative of the authors, of the photographers, we wanted to show the various and the very multifaceted ways of feeling and of being Italian today. And what are the thoughts and the ideas and the stories and the narrative people have that are associated with the feeling of feeling Italian. Here, in fact, in this slide here, you see the call for our photo context. Actually, you see here also the date. So we had this call for a couple of months open, just promoted through our social media and our networks. And in total, we received more than 600 images of professional photographers, but also of amateurs. And interesting, not only from Italy, but also from abroad. So abroad from Italians, like many of you are, but also from foreigners who are not Italian, but felt Italian. So Maura, if you could change to the next slide. And here, in fact,
we also, sorry, Bettina, it would be better if the ones that are not speaking, if they can unmute themselves, because there is a strong noisy on the ground. Sorry for asking and interrupt you, but
if you just, in fact, can everybody unmute? This would be great. Thank you very much. So the pictures you here see, this is here you see the jury of the photo contest who selected the best projects. In fact, this was an international jury composed of experts from photography, visual communication, and from the intercultural. And in the end, they selected 24 photographic projects of 24 photographies with a total of 89 photographs that you eventually find in the book. We grouped in 4 chapters, and this is the book actually we are talking about. So we can also then move to, Maura, please, to the next slides. So we started the whole concept, and what we asked actually the photograph to do, we started from the questions, who are the Italians today? And we gave some guidelines for the photographers to follow when they were sending out their project. So the first, in fact, was what are the behaviors, places, situations, activities, or symbols that evoke Italianness? And then we asked them to think about what are the elements of continuity with the past that allow us to perceive or to be perceived Italians. And then a third aspect, we've been curious about it, because we wanted to have not only Italy of the past, but we wanted to have an image and images and ideas what people think about what it means feeling Italian today. So here we asked people, which are the transformation in progress in Italy that evolves in how Italy, in their views and their perception, involved in the global context. So this just to give you a little bit of context, how actually the book came into being, and that it's not only a book, but we as an association, we see it also as a research project. And if we have time in the end, we would also like to talk about it, that we want to connect it with training activities we are developing at the point. But today, actually, we just want to talk about the book. And I would like to pass to Maura, who will introduce you to some of the pictures of the book. Oh no, actually, I can still talk. Yeah, I think now, Maura,
yes,
if you would like to say.
Okay, Bettina, I think was your hand moving the sheet. Probably you have in front of you, so be careful with the sound, because otherwise it's a little bit uncomfortable. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm the co-author or the co-editor with Bettina about the book, and also I coordinate with her the project. And I'm going to start showing you the contents in terms of pictures, but also in terms of what the pictures represent of feeling Italian. But before to do that, we received some answer, because for the ones who joined exactly on time, if you remember on the first cover, we had questions for all of you. We started asking you, what's your idea? What does it mean for you to feeling Italian? So we received some answer, just a few, considering how many people joined it until now. So for the ones that joined later, if you want to share with us your thoughts about what does it mean for you to feeling Italian, you can still use the chat and simply answer, typing the answer to this question. And anyway, I had a look to the answer we received until now. And the first one that we received was being proud of my heritage. So proudness, feeling proud, which is actually a feeling, and about the heritage. So the connection probably with the family heritage. This is the main answer that we received, because many of you wrote, it's my father heritage, for me is my father heritage, for me is valuing my family connection, is the appreciating glorious and ancient culture. So many of you really connected with the family, the Italian family, the family of origins. Let's see, there is another answer. For me, it's beautiful and elegant. Okay, thank you, Barbara. So beauty, it's definitely a common concept about feeling Italian. And indeed, I'm starting to show you what are the main contents that came out. As Bettina said, we received more than 600 pictures, only 24 of the total projects that we received were collected into the book, and we divided, Bettina and I, after that the jury selected the 24 pictures or projects actually, we divided the selected pictures into 4 main chapters. And the first chapter, we call it the traditional identity. Why did we call it the traditional identity? Because you'll see, so we start with the first photo project you find in the book. As you can see, some of you actually, there was a couple of people wrote the cuisine and the streets were mentioned as well as part of the Italian cultural heritage. And indeed, they were the main topics of all the pictures we received. And this was one of the pictures that was chosen by the jury. As you can see, many people connect the Italian cuisine with pasta, but knowing very well the Italian culture, it means also to know the variety of pasta we have. Not only pasta, of course, we have a variety of food at regional, at province level, and knowing the Italian culture, it means knowing all this variety. So not knowing only about the pasta or about the cuisine, but knowing exactly what's the difference like between North and South and the different regions, and why, what are the ingredients, where the ingredients were coming from, why are chosen some ingredients and not other. And of course, this is part of the traditional Italian identity. Many Italians, when they go abroad, they look for the Italian food. We love the Italian food. We think the Italian food is the better one. And of course, now also the tradition in terms of what we eat, especially in the big cities, are changing. But of course, one of the main elements of the Italian culture is the food and is the cuisine particularly. And here we have second pictures. This is a photo project that was selected by, there is an echo, probably there is someone with the microphone on. Sorry about that, but I'm very sensitive because I have my headphone. Anyway, this is the second photo project. Again, is about the experience of food, the experience of cuisine, but from a Brazilian perspective. So the author of this photo project is a Brazilian Italian, so a Brazilian with Italian origins, similar to Andrea. that came to visit Italy for the first time. She came to travel in the south of Italy, particularly in the region of Calabria, and she made an experience with her family of origins to make the salsa, so to make the tomato sauce. As you can see all the process of making the salsa, and the story also is very nice, connected with her experience. So again, it's a tradition. It's connected with the cuisine, and definitely is part of the Italian traditional identity. Another element, as many of you mentioned, is the family. Of course, for Italians, the family is something very important. Definitely, the family composition is changing. It's very rare nowadays to find a large, extensive family. You could find years ago. Now we have more and more mononuclear family, multicultural family, family composed by people of the same sex. So the family composition definitely is changing. But Italians spend time with their family. They care about their parents, in the sense that, for instance, in order to take decision, they might relate with their parents. They might take a collective decision with their parents. They might match the expectation of their family, for instance. So family play a strong role into the Italian culture. And here you can see Momento May. This is a project of Valentina De Santis that, coming back from a trip, she felt the need to connect with her family. And how did she connect with her family? Searching in her house for old pictures of her family components, and by searching also for objects that are connected with her family members. And Momento May, which means remembering. It's a photo project composed by old pictures and objects of her family components. And then, of course, the ones of you that mentioned the beauty, some of you wrote arts and literatures in the last messages that I saw, and beauty definitely is part of our culture. Of course, we have the Renaissance, and arts is everywhere in our country. And this is a Spanish photographer, Sensi Lorente. She's from Sevilla. She studied in Florence, and she's passionate of the Renaissance portrait. And she was inspired by the Renaissance portrait in her photo projects as well. And of course, these pictures it represents the beauty, and indeed this is what is about. And then I haven't seen, let's see what you wrote. Beautiful pictures, great. Also the story is very nice. You haven't mentioned, or at least I don't think I saw the connection with religion, but of course in somehow religions is very present, not only because we have an amazing number of churches everywhere. Just in Milan, we have 250 churches, just to give you an idea. But of course, we have less and less practitioner. So religion, a Christian religion practitioner or Catholic religion practitioner, but still religion plays a strong role. And it plays a strong role also in terms of traditions that are act, especially in some peculiar dates or religious events, like you mentioned, for instance, Pasqua and Pasquetta. And of course, this is a photo project of the procession that take place the week before Easter. And this is, it's also a ritual which is connected with harvest in a agricultural area, particularly in the Franciacorta, that probably you know for the champagne and the sparkling wine. And the last photo project that is included in our first chapter is this one, this last one, and it's called Immobility. And this photo project, according to this photo project, Italians are in somehow waiting or stable. So they are not really looking for changing, but they are most waiting and waiting that something happen because the divine, or because of gods, or because of someone will help them. And it's composed by 5 pictures. Here you see only 2 of them, but immobility is another elements that we included in the traditional identity. So why did we, okay, I see the comments, you like the images. Well, they were the selected, so we hope they were also a beauty. We call them the traditional identity, also because probably many of you recalling the concept of these pictures had in mind some stereotypes or some cliché that are in some way narrated already in the literature, for instance, or by the movies, language, for instance. And of course, we were also influenced by some cross-cultural studies when we collected and when we had to label the 4 chapters. And we realized clearly that even if they are cliché and stereotypes, and some Italians might recognize themselves in those traditional Italian elements, some others they might not, or some others they might recognize themselves only in part in those elements. Still, those elements as stereotypes, they are part of the narrative of what feeling Italians means, or how the Italianness was told until now, or has been told by the movie literatures, for instance. That means that the stereotypes is not only something, it's not only a cognitive element, but is a narration element. It means that we use the stereotypes to talk about our culture, and also to make experience of a culture, not only the Italian one, of course, but every culture. And even a tourist, or even an ancestor, an Italian ancestor coming for the first time in Italy, of course, wants to make the experience of the family, or the experience of the cuisine, or the experience of the beauty. So those elements are part of the experience we want to experience when we think about feeling Italian. Or they're simply part of our narrative, and we might fit in these images only until some point. So, and you, what a question for you: how do you reflect about your identity? Do you think are you closer to the images that we presented in this first chapter, or do you feel far away? You feel that your Italian identity is made up by other elements and not the ones that we presented? Okay. Okay, so the Argentinian, Ileana from Argentina said that she feels very close to these images of Italian identity we presented. And would you call the culture of South cross-cultural with the culture of the North? Well, there are many differences, as we have many pasta, as we could see in the first picture. We also have many cultures within our own country, I would say. I have no Italian family history, but I lived in Italy, in Milan, for 11 years, and I can absolutely relate to those images. They're making me nostalgic, feeling close. Okay, many of you so feel quite close. Okay, we actually thought to ask to Andrea to tell you a little bit more about the story of this story. So Pomodori Rossi nel Garage. So maybe many of you comes from an Italian family from the South. Not all of you, but many of you probably might have Southern Italian origins. And maybe you have not visited Italy yet, or maybe you already visited Italy. And we would like to share with you the story behind this photo project. So Andrea, if you would like to.
Yes, sure. So this is the story Pomodori Rossi nel Garage. This is a story from Camilla Filigno Ciade. And it starts. Quando sono venuta in Italia per conoscere le mie origini, mi sono imbattuta in una scena familiare. In Brasile, infatti, molte volte avevo sentito i miei nonni raccontare della salsa di pomodoro fatta in casa. Tuttavia, nel mio immaginario tropicale, non avevo idea che i pomodori non crescessero ogni mese dell'anno. Non sapevo dell'importanza della raccolta in estate o della saggezza di conservare la salsa per l'inverno. Nella mia mente non c'erano i garage perché all'epoca dei racconti dei miei nonni non c'erano le auto. Non c'erano le ciabattine havaiane prodotte in Brasile e indossate per fare la salsa. Non c'erano i bidoni per fare bollire l'acqua e le bottiglie. E non c'era neppure il caldo di agosto in Calabria. Tutto era bollente. I pomodori sul fuoco, il sole sulle nostre teste, ma c'era l'atmosfera creata dai colori, gli odori e i suoni. Era un incanto. Fare la salsa è un rito annuale. Resiste ancora, nonostante lo si stia un po' perdendo.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrea. I don't know if all the 45 people who are connected could understand the Italian version. Give us a feedback in case you didn't understand, please. Okay, no, Barbara, no, it means that you didn't get any meaning or that you could understand it. None. Okay. Okay. Well, actually, I was surprised, Andrea. I was expecting you to read in English.
Read.
Okay. Someone said yes, and someone said no. Well, the story it's quite interesting because it's from it's a person who has Italian origins that for the first time that always care about the stories of the family, about what the Italianness means, what mean it for her family to be Italian. But when she came to Italy for the first time, she was surprised by many elements. For instance, from the heat, because it was in August in Calabria, was very heat. and she didn't expect that was so hot. And then, for instance, they used the Havanitas, the flip-flop, which are made in Brazil, and she didn't expect to find people using them to make the salsa, the tomato sauce. And the experience she's sharing is a very intercultural experience, because there is a comparison between what she had in mind and what she found in experience. And of course, we had Andrea with similar background, and we couldn't avoid to ask her to read this story.
Okay, here we have another picture, Casa Mia von Giorgio Subacchi. Have a look at this picture, and just if you can grasp, what is your impression when you see this picture? Giorgia took this with her mobile phone. What comes to your mind? These are actually 3 pictures. What came up to her, what she calls Casa Mia, my home, means to her the partita, yeah. But the whole picture actually are the 3 photographs she took are going together. And they express the bond between Italy and its values, as associating actually with the colors of the Italian flag, green, white, red. So this is in fact part of the chapter of identity in movement. So let me here also read her story, how she came up with this. So these 3 photographs that make up Casa Mia, my home, express the bond between Italy and its values, associating them with the colors of the Italian flag. Green, football. If years ago, father and son used to watch the Sunday afternoon game together, like a ritual, today the rules have changed. Football is no longer something for men only. White. Religion. Unlike what used to be in the past, today religion is no longer central to the daily life of Italians. But the memory of it still remains in the small gestures of their elderly. In fact, this is the picture she took from her grandmother of 78 years old. And red, food and family. A few years ago, these family photos would have depicted the father at the head of the table and the woman standing serving the food. Today, the context has changed. Women are comfortably seated, but the pasta with tomato sauce remains the same. In fact, this is part of the chapter Identity in Movement, because the way Giorgia sees is very much particular the role of women in society, how is it changing, as perceived by somebody who's a young woman from the millennium generation. So this photo project also illustrates very nicely the limitations of any traditional narrative Italianness. Particularly what we've seen before the traditional parts Maura was talking about. So in fact, here we see how traditional and new behaviors and meanings coexist and in a way transform themselves. So the element, for instance, of food, and the religion do not disappear altogether, but actually there are new elements which come together, mix in a new way, and some old are cancelled. So here we move, in fact, from chapter 1 to chapter 2. We see images which are much more the evolutionary process that take place through this. And we see this even much better probably in the next picture, Maura, if you can pass on. This is a picture from Bologna, from the Marian celebrations from Eva Maria Olszewska, a Polish lady living in Bologna. And this represents very nicely, in fact, this evolutionist process I was talking about before, which actually is taking place through the encounters of different exchange between different cultures. And here also we start to get a sense of this multiple belonging. So we have something very religious. We have a Catholic rite, the Marian celebration. But the interesting thing is, in fact, here, this is the celebration which is celebrated every year on the second Sunday of May in Bologna, among the Coptics from Eritrea. But integrating also the people from Bologna. So here, in fact, you see on these pictures, women and men dancing and singing to the beat of the drums. So the celebration of the Eritrean Copts here is a very joyful event, which involves all the people passing by. Here, in fact, we see how the pictures of the authors show us in Italy what we called, in fact, in the description of our chapter here, we called it culture syncretism. As an example of here, for instance, but there are also other examples of a religious rite and religious customs, how they actually slightly change the original meaning, and that happens something also not too much with very dogmatic religious coherence, but it takes very spontaneously, and actually traditional customs get reinterpreted according to different culture codes. And here, Mara, I think we can show another example. No?
No, we didn't prepare another example.
No, but I think we have the next pictures we are having, yes. I think go also as in the same direction, how in fact the meanings are evolving and how they get reinterpreted through intercultural encounters. In this case, it was between the Eritrean Copts and the Bologna people.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So what we find, some of the pictures we received, we didn't find the elements of the Italianness. Some of the pictures were able to go beyond stereotypes and to describe also the process of cultural changing, because this was one also of the question we asked to the photo context participants. So we received some pictures with that were representing the process of cultural changing. So cultural syncretism is one of those, and the other two are duality and oppositions. So what we found is that clearly for some people, feeling Italians might be a coexistence of meanings, of traditional and innovative meanings, or reinterpretation of meanings indeed. And we also find, we were surprised because many of the pictures we received were about social sensibility. And this is one of the examples of the social sensibility chapter. And we call the third chapter indeed the local challenges, because many pictures were about poverty, economical or power imbalance present into the Italian society nowadays, struggle for rights, for human rights, which are not necessarily taken for granted, for instance, or about phenomenon like immigration, but also emigration. And actually, those social problems that were represented and were narrated by some of our authors, photography authors, of course, are social problems that are present in Italy. And even today, after a year, more than a year of COVID, of course, they are even more and more present. But those problems are not only Italian problems, actually. They are problems that exist everywhere in Western cultures, so as in development countries. And they are actually recognized as problems that the sustainable goals, UNESCO Sustainable Goals, the 2030 UNESCO Sustainable Goals, which are 17 global goals to be achieved in order to guarantee progress that can be sustainable for all the countries living in this earth. So those elements are characteristic of Italy, but are also characteristic of many other societies. And for this reason, we recognize, first of all, a special social sensitive presence in the authors that send us pictures. But this sensibility to social themes, they are also part of one of the goals of our project, that is also about developing intercultural skills, but also developing global citizens. And be aware of those problems and to be sensitive, to participate, to try to give solution. And your role can be your society role, can be your professional role. It's part of our Feeling Italian projects. So through the book and through using the book as a training toolkit, we wish to achieve also these goals, which is also which embodied also the sensibility and the awareness about what are the sustainable UNESCO global goals and what can we do in order to contribute at the achievements of those goals. Anyway, I don't know how many of you are aware of the fact that in the last few years, Italy became country of immigration. So the percentage of migrants we have in our country in the last 20 years rose from less than 1% up to almost 10%. So the society is actually changing also from demographical point of view, because the components of society are coming from other countries. But because of the economy, unfortunately, we also have one of the highest brain drain in the world, which means that many of the millennials are leaving our country in order to find better job opportunities. And of course, US or Canada or Germany are some of the country of destinations. And this photo project is quite powerful from the image and emotional point of view, because you can see a CV here folded as an airplane. And here you can see a CV that is used as a boat. Of course, are very metaphorical, but quite strong about what's the feeling about this topic. and Emanuele Mirulla is a young is a young part of the millennials, part of the society that represents his feeling of what does it mean for him to feel Italian. So I'm not going to read the story. I go on with the rest of the pictures we want to show you. And this is, Bettina was mentioning before, chapter number 2 is about the process of cultural changing. As you can see, Italian places, this is duality. It represents the opposites that might be co-present for one person feeling of belonging. So you might feel traditional, but you might feel not as much traditional. You might feel part of a new society, a more modern society. This is a photo project that represents the new Italian families, and it's part of a chapter that is the 4th chapter of our book. We call it Multicultural Identities, because in some pictures we receive, we see that the diversity, the cultural diversity, is valorized by the photographer. So in terms of family, in terms of entrepreneurs, in terms of territorial elements, all the photo projects which are present in the last chapter of our book, you see a modern Italy that you probably wouldn't expect, but where the photographer felt that this new multicultural belonging, or this new multicultural feeling, it's something to valorize. And so this is the new families. This is Cradle Me a Bit More, where you can see a clear demographic mixture.
Do we have the time to read this story or not? Behind?
Yes, we do have the time, and we have the time to ask to the audience what do they think about these 4 pictures. What are their thoughts about those 4 pictures?
Okay, great.
So, yeah, we are still, we are half an hour, so absolutely we have the time for some discussion. Also about these 4 pictures, we have some messages here.
So maybe if somebody has a special interest or curiosity about one of the pictures, we can read the story, because it's one is in fact how we perceive what we see in the image, but obviously we have, what is interesting about these things really all was to connect the image with a story behind it. And here we do not have the time to read it all, but if you have a special, we absolutely have to time to read a few. So if anybody of you has a special curiosity.
Yes,
the first one. So the first one.
The first story. So Barbara would like to hear about the first story. Okay, I can go with the first one. And then we have Giovanna with the first one. Well, so the first story is called Italian. The project is called Italian Places. And this particular pictures is called Resistenze, and it plays with the title, because Resistenze will be Rexistences, and it's titled Resistenze 25th of April. And you know, the 25th of April is the Liberation Day in Italy from the Nazis period. And so Reexistence, 25th of April, and the pictures was made in the area of Cremona. The image speaks of two forms of resistance. On one hand, nature, which in Italy seeks and still finds the space to resist in the face of continuous attacks by man. On the other hand, the resistance of the marginalized, which are unconventional and not always accepted. Family groups classified as different, as in the case of the group of men with a little girl shot outside a house in the lower Po Valley during the recurrence of April 25th, a symbolic date representing an alternative to tradition. So you can see really traditional elements, but you can also see this man taking care of the little girl and men with different role in the family, taking care of drying the clothes. And so you see the duality of traditional and innovative elements. And then we go with the first one. And Daniela, this is your turn. See? No, it's not Alto Adige. This one, you mean, Sarah, you're asking about these pictures. It's not Alto Adige. You'll discover it soon. Daniela? Yes.
Italy on the Border by Giacomo Infantini, Italiano. Italy is a multi-ethnic and cosmopolitan country with a strong historical identity that today, however, seems to be lost. Social and cultural changes are underway. They rattle fragile and precarious borders. They modify Italy and its landscape toward indefined and hybrid forms. This is a country that is often contradictory and unaware, and which projects the image of a suspended, uncertain future. It is a territory that needs to rediscover itself, embracing without fear the changes that are taking place. Although the real change lies inside the Italian people, whose new ephemeral identity is yet to be deciphered by springs from the loss of traditional values. Italia al confine, or Italy on the border, depicts the frontier territory between Italy and Switzerland, an area where feeling Italian has never been important. In this territory, in fact, the multicultural influences, along with the traditions, have created a fluid identity, and the shifting of one sense of being Italian, the borders, feeling Italian today means moving along the border in order to embrace the new and save the self.
Yes, thank you, Daniela. Yes, this on the border, even though the author represents, tells actually about a little bit negative feeling of living at the borders, because it seems that you lose something, according to his words. But actually, in our vision, in the intercultural perspective, we see the ability to live on the borders, of course, a metaphorical borders, in the ability to avoid to build up walls in your own hands, give you the possibility to embrace diversity and to be enriched by the diversity in terms of dynamism of your own identity. So if you know who you are, if you know where you're coming from, and you're able to live on the borders, you can be enriched by the diversity. In order to be able to live on the borders anyway, you need to have awareness, first of all, of your own identity. And secondly, you need to have intercultural skills. And what we can observe in society is that a very small group of people is open-minded and able to live on the borders in their own daily life and being able to enrich the diversity. Many people, unfortunately, when they encounter diversity, they are rigid. They might use stereotypes. They might use prejudices. They might even want to valorize even more their root of origins in order to differentiate themselves from the diversity.
I think this is also something we have seen, that obviously in a multicultural and in a global society, that people lose a little bit their certainties about who they are. And also about the certainties they used to have about their sense of belonging is challenged. And this is, I think it's a divide we feel not only in Italy, but I think America, it's a very good example where the same actually social division is and polarization is also having. Yeah, but in our project, what was in passing, when asking people how they identify themselves as part of their country, of their nation, city, or ethnic group, actually helps us to further understand if people hold also a global identity or not. Because as I said in the beginning, for us was ultimately really also to help people to develop a perception and awareness and the skills to feel and to become and think of themselves as a global citizen. And let's say this was for us, it's a very underlying theme which was important for us. But this, in fact, is challenged in many ways. And in fact, as Mara said before, a lot of the pictures we got really has been addressing about the social and critical challenges in Italy, with how it is perceived by many people. And a lot of the authors actually who sent us also their pictures.
Yes, maybe it's also important to underline what we mean by global citizens, because you might think that because you know languages, because you travel a lot, you are necessarily a global citizen, but this is not the case, because being a global citizen, it means to be aware of the context where you are living and to take part and to be aware also of in part of your responsibility and to take the responsibility to change the context where you are. So it's different. Yes, sorry, Bettina, it's different to be a cosmopolitan person, only a cosmopolitan person or a traveler, than being an aware global citizens. This is one of the goals of our project.
So here, in fact, you understand that our background is the background of educators, because we also are going now to use this book and revise it and experiment it for training purposes. In fact, our ultimate goal is really to develop the competencies necessary to become a global citizen, which has a lot to do with the awareness and the cultural awareness, self-awareness and cultural other awareness, but obviously has actually also to do, the concept of global citizen has also to do with responsibilities. You know, you have, if you want to have rights as a citizen, but also responsibilities towards your local communities, but also to the global context. This is very much, we as an association, and I think also Maura and myself are believing very much in, because it's really much also related to the former mentioned, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Because if you really believe, you know, you want to make this world to become a better place, what we actually need is to have global citizens. So this book in many ways wants to be a contribution for this.
Yes, there is a question by Giovanna Cappi. Could you expand on change the context where you're living? Well, you can, of course, sometimes it's more difficult. Sometimes, well, actually, the study abroad programs or strong experience abroad can help a lot in developing an identity, a self-awareness. So many people that can have the possibility to have a long experience abroad, they might have a better chance to increase their self-awareness. Of course, by being at home in your own context, it might be more difficult. Of course, it depends from encounters, from important encounters, from technique of self-awareness. And yes, I mean, if you are so strong and if you can change the context where you are, of course, you can also extend being in the context where you are. Not all the time that's possible, but sometimes that can be possible.
It's also true to have intercultural experience in these days. You don't have to go abroad. You don't have to go much far. And I think this is also the differences probably of the Italy of 20 years ago. Just take the metropolitan line of Milan, and the diversity and multicultural is there every day. And in fact, many of the pictures actually show us these kind of encounters, and what these encounters do with people, with their behaviors, and you know, with their ritual and their customs, and how new things actually out of this emergence of this creolization is coming. New things evolve in tourism and in rhythm. So it's, you know, many projects actually there prove, particularly the one of the 4th chapters, show us how really new things, most which actually go really far beyond the stereotypes mentioned in the 1st chapter.
Yes. Maybe we want to read also, we have time also to read the last 2 stories. Can we read them?
Yeah. Andrea, you like to read the, oh no, I think.
Yes,
the
Andrea
story
wanted to read
of the family.
This story.
Yes, sure. And I have here also, we can see another Italian, international Italian family. This is my husband, Fabrizio, from Torino.
Nice to meet you.
So now we have to ask which football claim he is keeping. if it's Inter, Juventus. Okay, this is part of an Italian identity, and it's also part of this picture now. If you could read the story, Andrea.
Yes, for sure. So when I read the first time the book, this was the picture and the story that was more on my heart. And I apologize for reading in Italian before. It was my thought. So here I am in English talking about the story Una famiglia italiana by Nicola Bertolucci. When Giorgio told me that he intended to make a change in his life and leave for Togo, West Africa, for a moment I was disoriented. How would my dear friend at the age of 48 adapt to a reality so different from ours? After having worked for many years as a tourist agent, visiting the most disparate places in the world, would he succeed in getting to know the world on the other side? Would he succeed in his plan to build a kindergarten? The answer are in this photograph. Not only did George had a fantastic experience lasting almost 3 years in Togo, he met Eugenie, a woman who would later become his wife and the mother of his son, Andrea. Now Giorgio, Eugenie and Andrea live in Milan, and Andrea is a happy child. He's a Milanese and in all respects, as says his mother, but he shows great interest for the country where he was born and loves his food, as Eugenie found a job in Milan. Eugenie, Giorgio, and their son Andrea are a family. For their friends and acquaintances, they are also unassuming role models. So I love this story because this is very similar as mine, as we've been married for 21 years and 2 teenagers. So this is the new Italian family for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a growing reality. And Mara in the chat just shared also some figures, which are interesting. And the same direction goes also the next picture, which represents the new way. Actually, this is a picture, I must admit, it's one of my favorites, because it is a snapshot, and I think it's a very intimate situation, and I think for me it gives a lot of emotions without even the story. But let me also share the story, which is quite touching. So it's the project of Martina Di Lauro. This, for me, is the new Italy, the old generation embracing the new one with love. I'm a volunteer at a refugee center for women, where I had the pleasure of meeting this little princess. The old lady, on the other hand, is my grandmother. She has never crossed the border in her life and feels deeply confused by all these new guests. In 88 years of life, she had never had previous contact with people of color. One day, I took the little princess home for lunch. I went into my grandmother's room and put the girl on her bed. At first, my grandmother's eyes betrayed her puzzlement. It took her a few minutes to realize that this was just a child, a beautiful girl. Hers was not fear, but curiosity. They spent the whole day together, the child cradled by the old lady. Difference can often be frightening, especially for the elderly, but the portion to save our country from xenophobic thoughts and act can just amount to a little more love. This is a story of the new Italy. So we have 10 more minutes. I don't know, Daniela, if more open question, general question about the project. So people may also like to activate their audio and want to ask questions. I think we have the time.
Yes, definitely. So there are on the screen some suggestive questions for you. So we're open for any questions. So.
Yes, I just saw the first question was about where to buy the book. So I allowed myself to go on the last pictures, and I'm writing on the chat also the link and how to write us to buy the book.
Yep, that's great. And can you tell us a little bit on how can you use this book? How can a person, even in school, right? We can use it in school, not only to promote what your goal is, creating global citizenship, but how some suggestion for teachers on, or educators in general, on how to use this book.
So we actually both, Mara and myself, we had some experience using it in the classroom, particularly when speaking about the issue of global identity. And Mara also had a class asking her students to write a reflection paper about this. This is really interesting. Actually, we are now in the second phase of the project, or third place, you know, whatever it calls, that we are starting to design training session for young immigrants in Milan area. And the idea is actually really to convert this book into a training tool. This is still work in progress, but maybe also, Maura, you want to share the experience, how you used it in your class. As we said, we were still brainstorming about it, but so it's something which is just happening in these days, that we're starting to develop even maybe a toolkit. So we still not have definite ideas about it, but it's going to happen. And we're also looking for maybe to find a publisher who wants to make a re-edition of the book. Together as a toolbook. So there are a lot of ideas actually nella pentola, as we say, but yeah. Maura,
the ideas, we do not miss idea. We have always plenty of ideas. Anyway, just to, if you want the paper version, sorry for, I'm using like a small advertisement time, if you don't mind. If you want the paper version, which is this one, is a high quality printed book in limited version, numbered. The only way at the moment is that you write us into at the email I wrote in the chat box. You can see also project@feelingitalian line.it. We can send you the copy. Of course, you buy your copy and we will send you the copy. Otherwise, you can easily find it on Amazon, and on Amazon you find the digital version. It's not exactly the same because, of course, the paper version is nicer, but those are the two ways at the moment. About the experience of using it, of using the book as a tool, as an intercultural tool, I experimented it in my class at the university. I have a class of 25 students, some of which are Italian, but the majority are coming from different countries, different continents and different countries. And they normally spend at least 1 year in Italy, 1 or 2 years. Of course, cultural awareness and intercultural competencies are part of my course. So what I did is that I started to explain to in the first week of the 30 hours I have in total, in the first 6 hours, I explained them what is it, the cultural identity, and what are the intercultural competencies and global competencies we will work on over the course. Then I asked them to read the book individually, and I gave them some questions about what the book made them to reflect in terms of their personal cultural identity. What did they learn about their multicultural identity? What do they think about the global challenges, and if they feel and somehow connected with any of those global challenges, and if considering the professional role, do they feel that they want to do something in order to try to solve some of those global goals. And they send me, so they written self-reflection, very deep, very profound. They took the exercise very seriously, and I was astonished by what they wrote, to be honest. They were very happy that I gave them the book to read, because they could learn not only about the Italian culture, but they could use the book to reflect about where they were coming from and about their own culture. So this was a good experimentation, and I'm happy I did it, and I think I will reuse the same exercise in the same way. It worked very well. And recently, this has happened only on Friday, Bettina, so I didn't share it with you yet because we didn't talk. But there is a colleague from the Carinthia University in Austria. She teaches Italian as second language at the university, so it's a bilingual course. So they have to do part of the course in Italian and part of the course in German. And she's also very happy about the discussions they are having in class, also because she teaches Italian as second language, but using also intercultural competencies into her course. So she will share with me a little bit more of what she did, but she used the books and she's very happy, and she will continue to use it. So those are experimentation.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Daniela, the only thing I was thinking, because of course you teach Italian as second language, the only thing, of course, I think it's useful for at least a European B1 level. Oh, I don't know if it's the same in, yes, because you need to have a certain level to understand, of course, the text and also to discuss about the content. So at least B1.
Great. You know, as I was looking at the picture, not only reflecting on the beautiful message behind, I was taking ideas on how you can use that image to build up vocabulary, and maybe the geography. You know, you can use it as a multi-curriculum tools as well. I don't know if anyone else have other questions. I'm reading a lot of compliments for you both and your beautiful project. So, yep, I have, thank you. This project is amazing. Congratulations, great. So I invite everyone to buy the book, obviously.
Thank you, Daniela.
More interesting, the hard copy for sure. It sounds like so cool, but also useful to get the digital version as well.
Version.
Invite everyone to take a peek, and hopefully
we may also say, in fact, beyond the narrative, there we have also some contribution essays of some specialists to complete the things. For instance, there is There's a comment also, an essay from Milton Bennett, who is quite known in the States, but also somebody from representative of the Museum of Modern Photography in Italy, just to complete also the text. And but I think you also, when you go on Amazon, I think there is also description, and there's also you can also have the index of the book. I think also on the website of Sieta Italia, you find the first pages and the introduction of the book. So if you want to get an idea to get into it, I think, which is the link you put in the chat? It's just on Amazon, but also on,
yes,
also on Sieta Italia, there is a section on the whole project from its beginning. So there also you can get more information if you like.
Great.
I'll put it in the chat also, the other one. Okay. Yes, and you also find in the book, of course, before there were questions about the Italian family and the composition, in the book you find also some figures. They are not updated because it was written in 2019. So in 2021, probably data are changed a little bit, but you find also some interesting figures.
Perfect. And we have the two authors, so you can present it to your class and say, yep, I talked to the authors. Well, thank you both very much. I can't thank you enough for taking the time and prepare this beautiful presentation. It was a little taste of what we just said you can find on the book. So once again, I invite everyone to at least take a peek, and hopefully you find it interesting and buy it. And Maura e Bettina, grazie Andrea.
Grazie a voi, grazie Andrea tantissimo, e anche Fabrizio.
Thank you very much for having us.
Che ci ha dedicato la domenica pomeriggio.
Grazie a Chiara e a tutti i nostri amici.
Grazie a tutti, bellissime foto, bellissimo evento.
Buonasera a tutti, arrivederci.
Thank you, we are perfectly on time.